we were supposed to move in, and then he stopped reaching out.
Promise, and haven't delivered the job.
The scary part was when we walked into that house, it was completely inhabitable.
Obviously, your only solution was fire that guy, right? Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode with JC General Construction. My name is Andrew with JC, and today we have a very special guest, Miss Taylor. Her story is powerful because it's something that many homeowners never expect. You hire a contractor, and in the middle of the job, he walks away, leaving your home unfinished and unlivable. Today, we're going to talk about what happened, what she learned, and how we help bring her home back to life. My hope is this conversation help many homeowners to avoid this situation. Miss Taylor, thank you so much for being here and trusting us with your project.
Of course. Thank you guys so much.
So, Miss Taylor, let's go back in time. So how do you get involved in the 203K process? How do you find this program, and how this happened? What was the very beginning when you was looking at property, you realized that the property needs some fixing, the lender explained about this program, how everything happens?
Yes. Okay, so I would like to start with the process with the lender that we went with. We actually did get approved for conventional. And in our mind, we were thinking the whole time, we have good credit scores. We're going to go ahead and do the conventional. And as we, started submitting our information and everything, and just kind of telling them what our price range was and everything, we ended up finding a property really quickly that was close by our previous home, and we fell in love with it. It was an older home, but it was an all brick home, which was something that we didn't think we were going to get with our first home. It had some other features that we really wanted, like an all seasons room. That wasn't something that we would think we would have gotten with our first single family home, because we purchased a condo previously. So we wanted a backyard. It had a really nice backyard. It was in a great neighborhood. All the things that people hope to have when they're looking for their first home. Because it was an older home, it was not in bad condition, but it was outdated. And I would say the worst part of the home, two things, is it had potential, but the previous owner did not keep up with the maintenance. So the outside of the home needed some TLC. The lawn wasn't taken care of and things like that, but we could see beyond that and see that it would be a great investment. So we didn't let that stop us. As far as our first walkthrough with our realtor, everything looked great. But once we got into the basement, we noticed the flooring was very messed up. And we would pretty much have to get all of the floor scraped up. It was older tile, and it was broken up and stuff. So we knew we would have to replace that, but that still didn't stop us. So we saw potential, and it was everything that we really needed after searching for, I think we started our search in September.
Okay.
And, we looked at a lot of different homes, but it was kind of we felt like we were settling. And this was the first house where we were okay, it needs a little work, but my husband's really handy, and so am I. So we were okay, these are things that we can fix on our own. But when we were working with the lender, they had mentioned that even though we were approved for conventional, we could do FHA, and there was a program called the 203K. We knew nothing about it, had no idea that this was even an option. But we went through a small class, and they walked us through all that it would entail. And then that made us want to go ahead and do the 203K loan, because we're okay, we know that there's some work that's going to have to get done. Instead of going directly out of our pocket, say $10,000 to $30,000, we were approved to get a $30,000 renovation loan, and that would be bundled into our mortgage. So once they ran the numbers and everything, it seemed like something that would be possible for us. And we knew that we would be able to afford it. One of the things that they mentioned with the 203K loan is it cannot be, because everything is through the bank, I'm not saying that this is exactly how our situation ended up working out, but from what I was told with the 203K loan, it can't be like a mom and pop, like your uncle or your aunt or like a best friend or something. It has to be like a legit company, because
For
they need
sure.
to have like liability insurance. And we had to work with the first contractor, and they had to give us references, where the lender could reach out to these references and ask about the contractor's work. So our first contractor, he had all of the paperwork. You also have to turn in like tax documents and things like that. He had his references. He talked a really big game, and made us think that like our dreams were going to come true. We weren't really looking for much. It's just
Hmm.
like, okay, the cabinets, they were real oak cabinets, but they were a little outdated. We wanted to paint them and change like the hardware throughout the house. Like the flooring, it was really good flooring, but it was very old. There was stains. We talked about if staining the floor would be a better option, or getting vinyl plank flooring throughout the house. We ended up going with the vinyl plank flooring because the renovations we had would have been $30,000 or less. So we went
Okay.
ahead and decided to do that. Updating bathrooms, things like that, but nothing like, as you know, like nothing super crazy, where you would need like permits or
Yeah.
anything. Just more like cosmetic type things.
For sure.
Um,
So let's say, so you was looking for a property. You find a property that you like in a good
mhm,
neighborhood. So and you know that you need some repairs. So
mhm,
you came up with the option from your lender that there's a 2-3K programs, and like all this renovation that you were planning, it was cosmetic, right? Let's say
mhm,
cosmetic, and you expect to do a smooth process, very quick, because we complete your project, but when we look at the quote, for sure, it was flooring, painting, couple like
mhm.
cosmetic that is not should be take more than 6 weeks to complete your project.
Right.
So you hired a contractor because this program requires a legitimate contractor with license
Yes.
insurance, and the lender is like the middle, like it provide all the contract, do all the
Hmm.
screen, so everything was happened. So when you have this contractor start the project and after you close your loan and everything, what happens? What happened when you have this contractor on your house? Because when you came to us, Miss Taylor, you have a terrible situation that we do. We trying to advise you, like just talk with your contractor, make sure he finish the job, make sure he come back. But when you realize that this contractor it's not for you, what was a red flag that you see during the project? It was a miscommunication, it was quality of the work, or something that you notice, like it's
Yeah.
something that it's not right, with that
Yeah.
contractor.
Yeah. I've been told multiple times that our situation is something that, it was a little more extreme than what even the lender or you have normally seen. The scary part with this situation was, like I said, the house was habitable. It was totally fine. It just needed to be updated. Um, as far as I think the thing with the contractor was the communication, as well as like the expectations and the materials that were purchased versus the amount of money he received. So the first thing I would say is the communication. Um, Everything was good at first. He was calling, texting, answering our calls and texts, engaging with us. Everything was fine. And as it got closer to the time we were supposed to move in and certain renovations were to be completed, we weren't expecting everything to be done the day we moved in. So just to give like more context, we uh, we signed off on, like we closed on May 8th, I believe. We were supposed to move in by June 1st.
Okay.
The Like you said, the things we were getting done that were most important was the flooring and painting, which, as you know, definitely shouldn't take 6 weeks. Those, if it's a reputable company and they have the amount of workers that they should, and like the staff to get the project done, that's not something that takes 3 or 4 weeks. It's not a super small house, but it's also not a huge house, like a mid-size home. And he did not use the materials that we gave him the money for. The one thing with the 203K loan also to mention is, for example, with us, we had the $30,000 renovation loan. They only get a small portion for materials first.
Okay, yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong,
No,
but I believe
you're
that's
wrong.
how it
You're okay.
goes. So like 30,000, he got our renovations were like 29,500 or something of that range, and the first payout that he received was 10,500, and that was supposed to cover materials. So that will show you, that kind of like gives you an idea. There wasn't necessarily much like work to be done, like nothing strenuous or crazy. So that 10,500 should have purchased all of the materials for the renovations.
Yes. Only cover the materials, and that's
Only
something
the
like
materials, not the labor yet.
not the labor yet. Yes, that's probably something that I mentioned at the very beginning to you, because it seems that your contractor say at some point like they run out of money because they only received the 10,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
You're right.
in this program, I mentioned like, hey, I don't know why this contractor it's pointed out that, because every contractor that does 203Ks knows there's only 2 draws in the type of loan that you did it. So we get one for the draw of the materials, and at the when you complete the project, the contractor complete the project, it's the time that we collect our money. And that provides a security for you, the homeowners, that the project will be completed, right? So so that's important to know, and that's important like the lender needs to explain to the contractors like, hey, there's no more money. This is not a regular renovation. You don't get progressive draw during the project, because we want to make sure you finish the job. And that is something like we find. Another thing, Miss Taylor, we notice, this was something very important that I saw during your project. It was about the quote, right? Because you mentioned like the contractor wasn't delivering the material that you expect, right? That you are paying for. So and when we did your project, that's important to mention what the material that you're going to install, right? So when we did your project, we went over the material, and we provide SQ numbers in the contract, because you need to know exactly the material that you're gonna get in your home. So let's say the problem with this contractor is maybe it's the lack of knowledge about the progressive payments, because he was pointed out that he ran out of money. The second thing, he doesn't deliver what he promised on the contract. So let's say it was something like the scope of work. They haven't go over the scope of work and honor the scope of work in your project. But when you decide to fire or move on with this contractor, how was that process? Because this is something that never, you don't see too much in this work on the 203K, because no one is talking about like, what is the process like you as a homeowner have to pass when you decide to move on with this contractor, because he promised and haven't delivered the job. So how was that experience with you when the lender, how the lender addressed that situation with you? They went with you step by step. I know you signed a lot of documents, but how was the process?
I'm trying not to make this too long, but it is really hard to like put this situation into just a small amount of time. But
it's okay.
I will say
this is a free space.
Okay. The process was very long, and it was very painful to have to go through it, especially like with a family. The issue with the previous contractor is, like I was saying, everything was fine up until like the week before we were supposed to move in, and then he stopped reaching out. We noticed like the workers weren't showing up for days and days on end. And a couple nights before we were going to move in, The contractor said everything will be done by between 12 and 2 o'clock on, the day you're going to be moving in. So go ahead and tell your movers to come and blah, blah. Everything was already scheduled. The scary part was when we walked into that house, it was completely inhabitable. There were no toilets. There were no sinks. There were holes in the floor. It was a nightmare. It was like,
I know,
the scariest thing that you can imagine. And I don't want to get too emotional, especially because I'm on the camera, but it was very scary, because we have 2 children, one younger, one older, and to think that you're moving in. Also, we were completely out of our condo, so there was no going back. When we walked into that house, it looked like it was completely demolished. There's no way we could live there. We had like baseboard radiators; those were all ripped out. There was no running water. Like, we had turned on, Nicor, ComEd, set up our account with the water company, all of that, but nothing could be used. There were no appliances in there, even though we had already purchased them. So we were homeless. We were homeless for 4 weeks. So we hopped from family and friends' houses. And then when we felt like it was just too much with all of us, because it was 4 of us and our dog, we didn't want to be a burden. So then we started running, basically we ran through all of our savings. So it was like the worst situation. We were homeless. We had no money left except for our regular, money that we would normally have. No savings. We spent $10,000 in Airbnbs and hotels in 4 weeks, because the Airbnbs were $2,000 or $3,000 for a week at a time. If you need to add more time, so it got very expensive. It was just about $10,000. So we were in 3 different Airbnbs, and then we stayed at an extended stay for a little over a week, a week and a half, 2 weeks. So we never heard from him. We have not heard from him really since then, unless it was threatening us.
He just basically walk away without every notify you, with no work. So he just walk away, no
just
notice,
disappeared.
no message, disappear. So
took the money, did not use it for, like you were saying about the SKUs. That's one thing that's really important, and you guys did that flawlessly. If there was even a change in the SKU because of the color or something, you provided an updated one. For the previous contractor, we sent him pictures. He sent us pictures. We had exact colors, all from Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever, of the exact flooring we were supposed to have. He listed it in the bid, but when we got there, the boxes were there so we could see, and we're like, this doesn't really look like it was supposed to look. So we started taking pictures, and we would send it to him and say hey, this isn't the color we picked, and now we haven't been here in 2 days, and now the 3 rooms are done. We don't want you to rip it up because we need to move in. But he would never answer our calls. It would only be text messages, and he was only at the property twice. So he was only actually physically there twice. His workers would just come and go here and there. This is a lot, but they even slept there. They slept there before we did.
I know.
There were it was a mess.
I know because you called to us. We were referred to you. You called to us, and you explained me the situation, and I never trying to take take the word from anybody. Basically I advise you. Try to do best you can. Just make sure this contractor finish the job, because you already have a contract with them. You already know, and I don't want you lose the money. But you try to do your best. Nothing happens, right? And you obviously your only solution was fire that guy, right?
Right.
You have to fire. You have to fill a lot of paperwork, with the lender.
And you have to there's a amount of time you have to wait as well. And I believe that this might be the same no matter what lender you work with. But if you're going to
No, it's the same.
terminate, okay, so if you're going to terminate a contractor for whatever reason, even if it's not this specific reason, maybe you just didn't like the quality of the work they did, whatever the case is, because you're in this 203K loan and it's through the bank, and this contractor has to be verified. It's like there's a lot of like liability involved. So in order to terminate the contractor, you have to wait, I believe it was like 21 days or something. You have to wait a certain amount of time
If he don't reply
before, if he doesn't
for X amount
reply.
of money, yes,
Right. So as long as when you terminate them, they don't reply, or they can't reply or do any work like within that period of time, which that worked out fine because we weren't hearing from him anyways. But you cannot allow anyone from that contractor's business to come and do any work. Once you terminate them, that's it. And then there's a waiting period. But in addition to that, like, I'm trying to remember this correctly, but like with this situation specifically, if you end up having to terminate the contractor, and they have not like signed off on the paperwork yet. So this guy did not sign off on any paperwork. This business, he never signed off on any paperwork. Because of that, we had to sign a liability agreement with the lender, basically disconnecting the lender from any additional payments that this contractor might ask for. It was a really big risk, but we didn't have a choice because we needed somewhere to live. So we emailed the letter of termination with the lender, with the contractor, myself and my husband, and it has to say like, as of today, you have been terminated. And then after, I believe it was like 21 days, then that's when a new contractor can start. But in addition to that,
there's another period of time that you need to sign, bring the appraisal.
So it's 4 months from the last day, from the day of termination. The contractor has up to 4 months where he can put a lien on your property.
For sure, yeah.
So you have to wait that period of time out as well. Of course, that involves like going to court. It is very scary, but I will say, like, depending on the contractor, it's like we were scared, but also because he wasn't replying and he had no evidence to back him or for him to win in like court, we weren't really worried about it. But we did have to wait 4 months because not wait 4 months to start the work, but it was just a waiting period of 4 months of when he could possibly file a lawsuit or ask us to go to, or demand us to go to court for additional funds.
Yeah, so actually, let me tell you something, because I noticed this many times. So when you did the 203K and then, it just come to my mind, it's like he start everything and never finish, not a task. So he start floors, he start demo, he start bathroom, everything at the same time. So that's, I would say that is one of the red flag that you need to know it is, because you need to, there's amount of tasks that you need to open and close. So you have accountability on your project. And that's probably what happened on your project. He start everything and not finish a task.
Exactly. And communication is key. That's the biggest thing. You should be able to reach out to your contractor after 1 day, after 2 days, after 2 weeks, and they should be constantly sending you pictures or wanting to join a call and talk about the progress and have a schedule. That's the most important thing too. Your contractor should have a schedule of how many hours they're there, what days they're showing up, not just showing up whenever they want and they're there for 2 hours and then they leave. So
no, that's something that we're trying to do, because when we get your project, we say, okay, let's do the floors, let's do the kitchen, let's do the cabinet. So we basically take one task and we close the task,
Right.
So it's one. So that's very important, because you see the progress. And in construction, it's hard sometimes when you have a rough work to see the progress, but you need to finish. You open the activity, close the activity. Otherwise, you have a big mess that happened to you. So, Miss Taylor, you came for a lot of things, and you now probably want the knowledge in 203K if you do it again. So it's very unfortunate situation because you were stuck on your project without livable condition for about 4 months after you fired a contractor and you was scared about lawsuit and everything. You did nothing wrong. Honestly, believe me, you did nothing wrong. It just was a bad situation. It was a bad contractor that came and started a project for you. So, Miss Taylor, if you have the chance to come back in time, what is something different that you may do? You know, if you say, let's say, if I have another property doing 203K, what is something different that you may have to do? Do a better screen on the contractor, or maybe just pay more attention on the scope of work, or maybe, I don't know,
it's hard to say. It's hard to say because, like you said, like I've come to terms with knowing like I did nothing wrong, but then it also makes you think like, oh, what would I have done differently? I'm not going to say I would never do a 203K loan again, but I would say, like, for anybody who is considering it, make sure when you're looking for your property, it's realistic. Make sure that what you want to do with that loan is realistic and it's something that can be done within a certain amount of time. As far as the contractor itself, I feel like it is kind of a risk. It's a risk you have to take, You can do as much research and everything that you want, but I would say, like, if you have someone like this, we had no references or like referrals or anything. So we kind of we had a friend that said she knew someone. We reached out to him. He talked a big game. He also mentioned he did 203K loans before, which clearly I don't think that he has. So I would say that might be one thing, is make sure that the contractor can show you some type of legal documentation or show you projects of a 203K loan. Not just say that they have, but actually have done it. But also make sure that you stay on your lender, as far as like making sure that like our lender did a great job of like backing us up and everything, but it's just important to make sure that your lender is doing all that they can. Because the thing is, no matter who you pick, you can do the screening and everything, but it's not going to matter what you do. The lender themselves, also correct me if I'm wrong, but in our situation, our lender had to go through all of these steps with, our contractor had to go through all of these steps with the lender himself. So it's like they had to verify him as well. Now, at that point, that did make us feel more confident, because we're like, well, if he was a scammer or a con artist, or if like something wasn't right, the lender would have known. But even the lender like didn't know, because he turned in his paperwork and had everything in there, and everything sounded good. It's just as it got closer to like crunch time, it almost like seemed like he was panicking, and so I would say if I had a chance to do something different, I would say just try to stay on top of the contractor and make sure that they're giving all of the materials and all of that, and giving you a schedule of when they're going to complete work, and kind of stay on top of that. Keep checking in with them to make sure that it's really getting done. And it's not, like you said, all of the projects being started at different times, and never being finished.
Yes. I would say one of the most important things in the 203K, it's making sure the contract it's very clear. The scope of work is clear.
The scope of work, yeah.
And
like almost every detail,
material detail, what's the quality of material, I would say in our company, what we do different, we added the SQ numbers. So with SQ numbers, exactly it's gonna go on the delivery.
Yep.
And one more thing, I would say, make sure your contractor include the quantities, of them of the materials,
Yeah.
If they say we're going to install a door, let's make sure how many doors.
Exactly.
If they're going to say we're going to replace the doorknob, how many doorknobs are included in your quote? So I know, like, like construction is very tough, and there is a lot of things to do it before, and the contract, it is hard to understand a scope of work. So I would say it's contractor responsibility that we have to explain, like homeowners, like what's going on. We need to make sure, set clear expectation from the very beginning.
Yes.
I would say this program, it's amazing, but you have to take the time to talk with your contractor. If the price sounds too good, maybe be worried about it. Let's go over in details and
Definitely.
check and compare apples to apples, right? Because when we came with our quote, it was completely different, right?
Yes.
we have materials,
Very
we have
realistic.
SKU number, we have quantities, and actually we have a conversation with you, explain like, hey, this is realistic this is feasible to do it at this point. And also we start with one of the tough questions in construction is about the budget. 203K, it's not like regular renovation. You have a budget, and you need to partner. In this project, you need to see your contractor as your partner. Because we went to your budget and we let you know what is feasible. I know there is a lot of bad contractors on upside, but basically our work, it's telling you. In our company, we have a clear book price that basically we know exactly how much it's gonna cost everything, right? But our responsibility is making sure your project is gonna be complete, start and complete, and also the responsibility is to make sure your budget is gonna work for the work that is request.
Right.
So we trying to prevent, and also we used to say in our company, we trying to prevent you running out of money during the project because it's something that's feasible. Miss Taylor, you have to pay from your pocket. Fortunately, in this project, most of the stuff was covered with the 203K, but like you have in this situation, you have to pay from your pocket. I think it was the bathrooms. So,
and that was only because that situation only happened because out of the 30,000, 10,500 was already used. So we only had that $20,000 left. So we could not include all of the renovations that was included in the first bid with the first contractor.
And one little thing important is make sure you get the right permit. 203K, it's hard, and probably some contractor may say, well, you don't require a permit. Just be,
you do your research too, even outside of just the contractor. Yeah.
Even in your scenario, one of the tip of homeowner, you can call to the city and say, hey, I'm planning to do this kind of renovation. You feel you don't have to disclose your property address, right?
Right. Exactly.
But you can call like, I'm gonna do this and that, so they can explain you what type of permit that you need, and that is another protection. Like it's gonna add you to the homeowners, right? It's another protection, not only for the loan required, it's a protection for you. Miss Taylor, I know that you see the value in the 203K the project. Even you have a bad experience, you say like you probably gonna go back and do it again, the 203K, but
I would.
with all the knowledge, you will be more successful in your next property. But any advice that as a homeowner to homeowner that you can share to them for these new homeowners, they want to do the American dream, have been property owners, that it's doing a 203K. What is one advice that you can give to them?
I would say that the biggest thing is to be realistic, because the money can go really fast. And being a new homeowner, you just kind of don't always know exactly how much certain things will cost. And when I say how much they cost, I mean materials and labor. So it's like, you might think, painting a house, just a couple $100. And it's not always that simple. So I would say just be realistic in the renovations that you want to do. And another little piece of advice I would offer is whatever your renovation budget is, leave a little extra. Don't use it all up, because there's always a possibility, like you and I talked about, there's always a possibility that as the renovations are getting done, you might need to make a change, or something might come up that you don't expect. So leave a little room in the budget. Don't don't have a quote for the entire amount and not have anything left after, because then you would be responsible for anything additional.
Yes. So maybe let's say be generous with the contingency budget. I know like typically it's 10%, but I always suggest to my customer add in 15 and 20% if you can. It's not because we're going to take that money, but it's going to protect you.
Yes.
And also, like you say, maybe add everything that you want, everything that will be covered in the loan, because they're going to give you a protection. You will not have to pay from your money, but do all this one before you close the loan, right?
Yes.
So it's been fantastic, Miss Taylor.
Hopefully I helped.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it's no easy to talk about all of this one, but I feel that homeowners really need to hear your experience, like from homeowners to homeowners, need to support each other, and that's the only way, that you can learn from the experience, right? Yeah. So again, thank you so much for being here, and for everybody watching this episode. We'll see you in the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.